They can sing, they can write, they can dance, and some of them can even act. On the hit list this time, 5 multi-talented entertainers who love to bust some moves.
There's a friend of mine. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine right here, right? Oh, this guy right here. You know, Justin Timberlake.
Where?
You know,
somewhere around here.
He's around here somewhere.
With friends like 50 Cent, Justin Timberlake doesn't need to fear his enemies. Not that the ex-Mickey Mouse Club member from Memphis, Tennessee appears to have many. JT's nice guy image and fondness for collaborating with other artists has helped him to a little black book bursting with A-list celebrities. From Snoop Dogg and Nelly Furtado to Christina Aguilera and Uber producer Timbaland, who puts their great relationship down to their similarities.
We both can entertain.
They can also conjure up the odd hit record. Since collaborating on Justin's 2002 smash Justified, the two Tims have worked together several times. In 2006, they were back in the studio for Justin's future Sex Love Sounds album.
When I sat down with Tim, at first the challenge was, I wonder, you know, I said to him, I was like, do you think we can do 6 Cry Me a Rivers? And he obviously took it as a challenge because he did amazing work as well. I mean, it was such a collaborative effort between the two of us. I felt like we were, I don't know, I felt like we recorded an album like Steely Dan might have recorded an album, or like, you know, a band would have recorded an album.
Justin returned the favor the following year.
He was already still hyped from the Future Sex Love, and I feel like he didn't get a lot out because only 12 songs. Yeah. So he had more to get out, but we know how to cut it short. So I said, you might as well come in and be like a producer with me on this album and give your input, and I'll just take it from there.
He said
as well as lending his vocal and musical talents to a host of other artists, he's also found the time to launch his own clothes label, act in films, open 3 restaurants, and conduct a string of high-profile relationships without breaking into a sweat. On top of all that, he's one of the most celebrated and dedicated hoofers in the business and wants to be remembered for making people dance.
Creating something that people will play in their cars or clean their house to or have a house party to or make love to, or, you know, when it comes on in a nightclub, you know, they want to jump on top of a table and dance. That's what I'm more inspired by.
Madonna may not have found fame and fortune quite as early in life as some singing superstars, but she certainly wrote the book on how to hang on to them. Since topping the US album charts with Like a Virgin at the age of 26, her genius for perpetual reinvention has propelled her to the top of the Guinness World Records list as the most successful female recording artist of all time. Not bad for a small-town dance college graduate who arrived in New York with $35 in her pocket. Her enduring success seems even more phenomenal in light of her confession that she really only got into singing because of the limited career potential offered by her first love, dancing. But while her fit body and impressive moves played a large part in getting her noticed as a singer, it was Madonna's uncanny ability to set trends that really sealed her star status.
Every time she needs to reinvent herself, she manages to do it, from the sexy kind of symbolism that she brings with her clothing to this more sophisticated glamour now. I mean, she's ever-changing.
First, it was the tutus, little lace gloves and Wayfarer glasses. By the 90s, she graduated to dyeing her hair blonde, bigger muscles, and Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Probably her most iconic clothing moment is the conical bra, the flesh tone with the black wide leg pants.
10 years later, after becoming a mother and converting to Kabbalah, she'd completely changed her image again.
I just have a serious fascination with the world of geisha right now, and it's got nothing to do with my daughter.
Refusing to relinquish her hold on the public consciousness, she was still stripping down to her leotard and busting serious moves in the videos to her Confessions on a Dance Floor album nearly a decade later.
I just think people were shocked to see a 47-year-old woman that had such an amazing figure. But I think, you go girl, you're amazing.
Now in her 50s and still pumping out the tours and albums, the Queen of Pop has no regrets.
I get a bit freaked out by some of my hairstyles and a few outfits, some hideous photographs, I don't know, things like that. Maybe a few guys I dated, but nothing too big, right? Well, the same regrets we all have.
Happy birthday to you, Usher! Not too many people have had the pleasure of hearing the Pussycat Dolls sing them happy birthday. But then R&B heartthrob Usher isn't just anybody. According to some of the legendary peers who turned up to help him celebrate, he's pretty special.
His movements are so stellar. I mean, the fact that he can dance, really dance, it's because he's so multi-talented.
Herbie Hancock's summary of the Texan-born entertainer's career seems rather understated when you consider he released his self-titled debut album with a little help from P. Diddy before graduating from high school. Still barely 30 years old, he's gone on to sell over 20 million albums and win 5 Grammy Awards. His amazing athleticism and skill as a dancer have drawn frequent comparisons with his idol Michael Jackson. But Usher seems less flattered by the media's insistence on pitting his prowess against that of fellow body popper Justin Timberlake. In an interview in 2004, he said that he'd been dancing for as long as he could walk, and that JT was doing what he'd been doing 10 years ago. For Usher, the desire to keep moving forward and developing has been a huge motivator.
You need to understand that there's growth. There's growth as an artist, there's growth as an individual. We are growing up every day.
Growing up has included acting in the TV series Moesha and Bold and the Beautiful, and starring in films like The Faculty, Light It Up and In the Mix. In 2006, he made his debut on Broadway, taking over the role of Billy Flynn in the musical Chicago. But after putting the finishing touches to his 5th studio album, Here I Stand, he was keen to lay to rest rumours that he might be about to abandon his musical career.
Never. I've always wanted to do music, couldn't wait to get back to it. However, you know, I do have other aspects of my entertainment career that I have to nurture. And acting is that. You know, I went to Broadway, did a few movies, have been looking for other great movie opportunities where I can show my talent.
It might be quicker to list the things that Ashanti isn't good at than to expound on her many talents. Singer-songwriter, producer, actor, dancer and model are just some of the titles the overachiever from Long Island can lay claim to. Known to her family and friends as the rather less exotic Shan, Ashanti grew up learning tap, jazz, ballet, African, modern and hip-hop, and singing in a church choir. But it wasn't until she was 12 that her mother Tina realised just how gifted Shan was.
I was downstairs doing chores. I was vacuuming the living room. And my mom was like, you can't listen to the radio, you can't watch television because it takes you too long. You know, when you do that, you get distracted. So she came stomping down the stairs and she's yelling at me and she's like, I thought I told you can't listen to the radio. I'm like, Ma, that wasn't the radio, that was me singing. And she's like, what? You know, let me hear that one more time. And I sang, it was actually a song by Mary called Reminisce. And I sang that, she ran and got my dad, I sang it for my dad, and then, you know, we started doing like local talent shows around my house, and we linked up with my co-manager, and we started shopping a deal from there.
She auditioned for P. Diddy at the age of 14, but the contract ended up falling through. And by the time she released her self-titled debut album in 2002, she'd already worked with the likes of Ja Rule, J-Lo and Fat Joe. Her debut single, Foolish, spent 10 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100, and she found herself nominated for 5 Grammy Awards, including Best New Artist.
A lot of people say it's almost, what is it, the kiss of death, the whole Best New Artist category, but I mean, just to be up against such talented artists, you know, the competition is definitely thick, so Best New Artist would definitely mean a lot.
That honour ended up going to Norah Jones, and Ashanti had to settle for Best R&B Album and being named the sexiest woman in music by FHM magazine. The tens of talented singer-dancers who dominated the stadium tour circuit over the past 30 years all have one incredible trailblazer to thank. As well as smashing all kinds of records in terms of record sales, Michael Jackson's transformation of the live pop concert into a spectacular modern art form still inspires awe among younger artists, despite his well-publicized personal problems.
I think he's one of the most talented artists on the face of the earth. I think his difficulties have held him back, but I think if he gets those behind him, moves forward, he'll be a superstar again.
Talent and music will stay. Of course, you have to be young, you have to be beautiful, talented, I'm saying, but Michael Jackson is one of the best.
I think he's brilliant. And I think that all of the media-generated stuff around Michael Jackson completely misses the point of Michael Jackson. Of course, it's interesting for you guys because you want stories, but it ain't interesting for us because all we want is music.
Maxie, Bob and Tommy had turned out to see Michael presented with an award marking the 25th anniversary of his album Thriller, the biggest-selling album of all time, which stayed in the Billboard 100 chart for 87 weeks back in the early 80s. The knock-on effect of multiple hit singles, merchandising and a making of Thriller documentary prompted Time magazine to dub Michael a one-man rescue team for the music business. A singer who cuts across all boundaries of taste and style and colour too. The Thriller era also marked the debut of his signature dance move, the moonwalk, which many dancers like Usher have since incorporated into their routines. The New York Times wrote, "The moonwalk is an apt metaphor for his dance style. How does he do it? As a technician, he is a great illusionist, a genuine mime." Another pave-making move was Michael's dedication to music videos. The 14-minute video to Thriller by horror movie director John Landis, with its incredible special effects and stunning group dance sequences, became an instant mega hit and remains one of the most popular video hits of all time. Subsequent videos to songs like Billie Jean, Bad and Black and White became staple viewing throughout the 90s on MTV. The Black Eyed Peas' will.i.am refers to Stacey Ann Ferguson as the body of the group. And it's fair to say that after Fergie, as she's better known, joined them in 2003, the BEPs shot to dizzy new heights in terms of popularity. Her smouldering pout, bolshy attitude and sexy moves turned videos to songs like Shut Up into appointment viewing on music channels like MTV.
Female MCs were a big influence for me. You know, Roxanne Shante, Queen Latifah, Moni Love, Salt and Peppa. Those were women that I looked up to because they were strong, you know, they were ballsy, and I feel I'm that way. You know, sometimes I get flack for that, but that's who I am.
Her strong influence on the rap group was parodied by English comedian Lenny Henry, who joked that the three original members of the Black Eyed Peas had been completely upstaged by their new addition, who'd initially been drafted in to replace their former backup singer, Kim Hill. Having neatly upped her profile on the back of the group, she was ready to launch her solo career. Her 2006 album, The Duchess, produced by will.i.am, ended up spawning 6 hit singles, one of which, Big Girls Don't Cry, went to #1 on the Billboard charts and won her Song of the Year from ASCAP.
Wow, Song of the Year, that's big, it's huge. For me, you know, especially with that song, with Big Girls, it was really just my soul talking. It kind of poured out on paper, and for people to really relate with that song is really special to me, you know, because it shows there are people out there who have had those same experiences.
Proving that she lost none of her mojo, she also took out Sexiest Video for Fergalicious at the MTV Australian Video Music Awards.
For me, it's been like I jumped on a surfboard when I joined the Black Eyed Peas, and I started surfing this wave, and I really haven't fallen off because we did Monkey Business, we did Elefunk, then Monkey Business, then I went straight into The Duchess.
and I'm still performing for that, and I'm on my 6th single, so I'm still riding this wave, and it's wonderful.
She was also riding high on her romance to actor Josh Duhamel, who she married in January 2009. But despite her appreciation of the high life, she still likes to keep it real.
You know, I get homesick. I just want to be at my mom's sometimes. Just pigging out on lasagna.
Born just 3 months after Michael Jackson, Prince Rogers Nelson also turned out to be a ridiculous overachiever with a great sense of rhythm and unique sense of style. The son of musician parents, he began teaching himself to play the piano as a 7-year-old and studied at the Minnesota Dance Theatre. At the age of 19, he wrote and composed nearly all the songs and played all 27 instruments on his first album, For You. He stretched himself even further with the release of his 1984 album, Purple Rain, and the accompanying film of the same name, in which he also starred. His fondness for high-heeled boots, frilly sleeves, makeup and flashy jewellery sparked debate about his sexuality, and rumours about his increasingly eccentric behaviour came to a head in 1993, when he changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol. The reason behind the name change was cited as a publishing dispute with his record label over the use of the name he was born with. And for the next 7 years, he was referred to in the press as the artist formerly known as Prince. After finally breaking free from Warner Brothers in 1999, he reclaimed his name.
On December 31st, 1999, my publishing contract with Warner Chappell expired, thus emancipating the name I was given before birth, Prince, from all long-term restrictive documents. I will now go back to using my name instead of the symbol I adopted as a means to free myself from all undesirable relationships.
In light of his unhappy experience with a major record company, many people were surprised when 5 years later he signed a deal with Universal. At a press conference to promote a video, he defended the move.
I don't consider Universal a slave ship.
After more than 30 years in the music business, during which he's won 7 Grammy Awards and an Oscar, he was confident he'd finally got the upper hand.
Ultimately, I got a chance to structure the agreement the way I saw fit, as opposed to it being the other way around.
Kelly Rowland's rigorous training for a career in show business came in the form of a boot camp devised by Beyoncé Knowles' father, Matthew. Dedicated to grooming his young protégés for stardom, Matthew famously left his lucrative job as a medical equipment salesman to become a full-time manager to Beyoncé, Kelly, and the other young hopefuls who made up the singing group Girls' Time. Kelly and Beyoncé, along with LaToya Luckett and Latavia Robertson, went on to form Destiny's Child in 1993. And at the age of 17, they released their self-titled debut album. 2 years later, their second album, The Writings on the Wall, sold 7 million copies and spawned the mega hits Bills, Bills, Bills and Say My Name. Internal turmoil and disputes ended with LaToya and Latavia being replaced by Michelle Williams in 2000, just in time for the release of their third album, Survivor, which won the Soul Train Lady of Soul Award for Best R&B Album. Their hit single, Bootylicious, went on to become an anthem for women rebelling against the pressure to be stick thin.
All we can say is, I think above anything that you just have to be yourself, and that doesn't matter what it is, and never let anyone else judge you, and be strong in all your beliefs and all your decisions, and don't let anybody talk you out of anything.
In a similar way to the Spice Girls before them, they were all about girl power.
But I know for us, we like to be independent. We think that it's important. We think that at the same time you can have a man, to cater to, but not, I guess lose yourself in a man. We believe in definitely being strong and being you. And men seem to like that over in the States.
Proving just how independent they really were, she and Beyoncé took time out from Destiny's Child to work on solo projects. Kelly's first solo effort, Simply Deep, spawned a Grammy-winning duet with Nelly. Then she threw herself into the deep end, signing up for her first real acting job in the Screamfest, Freddie vs. Jason.
I remember the first day I cried, and they were like, "Are you okay? And this is gonna be fun, and we're gonna all grow together," and that's exactly what we did.
And she's been growing ever since. After recording another album with Destiny's Child, she's been proving what a great all-round performer she is, with more acting appearances and the release of her second solo album, Miss Kelly Deluxe. While Michael Jackson is often credited with being the first real song and dance man of pop, that title truly belongs to the godfather of soul, James Brown, who died on Christmas Day 2006 at the age of 73. Once dubbed the hardest working man in show business, he kept on performing right up to the end.
I thank God, I thank you out there, but the career don't stop, and that's what surprises me. I want some other young man to come along like you. I'm tired.
The man who invented funk was born in extreme poverty in South Carolina. He honed his singing and dancing skills performing on the street during World War II. After being imprisoned for armed robbery at the age of 16, he was discovered by producer Bobby Bird while still in reform school. Over the next 4 decades, his screaming vocals, flashy footwork, sharp suits and wild hair became trademarks of an entertainer that no one could tame, nor could anyone match him in terms of all-round talent. His numerous nicknames, Soul Brother No. 1, Mr. Dynamite, Mr. Please, 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 Please Her and The Boss, became as familiar as his list of groundbreaking hits, like Sex Machine, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, and It's a Man's World. His band-leading ability to blend the simplicity of R&B with the complexity and precision of jazz while doing the splits remains unsurpassed. He ruled his band members with a rod of iron and would issue fines for unshined shoes and mistakes on stage. He showed just as much commitment to social activism in the 60s and 70s, encouraging African Americans to empower themselves with education and raising thousands of dollars for civil rights organizations.
I understand the struggle for a better humanity for all people. And that's my reason for being so concerned about what I do and the impression that I leave with all people.
Although he sometimes fell down in his own struggle for a better humanity, fathering a large number of illegitimate children and undergoing regular arrests for domestic violence, on his passing, Reverend Al Sharpton remembered him as a hero.
James Brown was not just a guy that made a lot of hits. He changed culture for us. He made the common man matter. We've lost more than an artist. We've lost the way of life.